Hi, I'm Jake. The last time I addressed this audience was actually for the Interaction11 Redux back in 2011, so it's been a while. Tonight I want to give you just some highlights. It's a fantastic conference. I don't know, who's been to it? Hands up, who's been to an Interactions conference? Not very many people. I know it's usually held a long way away. Hi Vera, hi. It's held a long way away and it costs a lot of money to go to it. But the standard of talks at it are extremely high, and I'm probably not going to do it very much justice. However, there's always some really, really great talks around process and what people are doing and case studies and that sort of thing. But what I'm going to touch on tonight are some of the more sort of what's next in design? You know, what are we doing next? And if you're interested in that other sort of stuff, then you can hunt down the videos. So basically, I'd like to start with this. Machines are going to take over the world, and life as we know it will die a horrible death, and there's nothing you or I can do about it.
My takeaway.
That's my takeaway from this. No. Anyway, yeah, basically a smartphone. Everyone's got smartphones, right? You can have up to about 14 different sensors in a smartphone, and all these sensors are collecting data about you. They're perhaps feeding data into apps. The apps are using networks and holding it all in the cloud. And these networks have got different algorithms that try and process this data, and things happen off the back of these algorithms, and these networks speak to systems, and systems can use APIs to talk to each other. And so it's not actually that hard to imagine or to understand the fact that when we design things on a single system but make the data that we're designing accessible to other apps, it's really easy to see that we no longer have control of that, and unpredictability will become quite rife. So, robots. Kate Darling tries to allay the fear that robots are actually going to take over the world and destroy us all by showing this video of the World Robot Soccer Championships. And they're actually really bad at soccer. It was so funny watching this, and they kept falling over, and humans had to kind of run in and pick them up and help them back up again and stuff like that. It's pretty funny. So she doesn't think that they're going to be able to destroy us all anytime soon, and so she's quite comfortable with that. However, robots are actually becoming more and more involved in the workplace. So she actually believes that we're going to actually see a really, really long period of time probably where robots and humans are actually going to have to get along with each other in the workplace, which is a kind of a novel thought. Because robots, they're designed to do one thing, and as soon as something else comes into play that they're not used to, or something goes wrong, they're really bad at dealing with that. And then she went to go on to say that robots are really just at the beginning of what they're probably capable of doing in the near future. And as humans, we're actually very physical and emotional creatures, and we tend to put these human qualities onto our robots. And so they're beginning to be designed with this in mind. So if you look at the Furby, for example, the Furby, like, kids love them. Initially they can only speak Furby language, and then as you speak to it more and more, it actually starts to learn words, and it starts to actually talk back to you, and it's really cool. You get an iPad app with it, and you can feed it through the iPad app by putting the iPad into its mouth and swooshing stuff into it. The dinosaur next to it is another cool example of how robots can actually interact with human-like qualities. You know, this robot, if you hold it by its tail and sort of shake it upside down, it starts to cry. And they've done experiments where people actually feel really bad for the robot, even though the robot doesn't actually have any feelings. And yeah, and so the Boston Dynamics example on the top right is a really good example of them not putting eyes on it, and they're not making it seem like a real dog, because they don't want it to have humane qualities. They want it to seem inhumane because it's a military robot. And the bottom row there is a great example. It's 3 great examples of where robots are actually being used in healthcare and education for really, really awesome outcomes. But there is a dark side to robots, and that is that we need to, if robots get so good at looking after, say, aged people, there's a real danger that we're going to just neglect old people and just let the robots deal with them. We need this human interaction, and we can't just replace it with robots. And another dark side is privacy and security. So these apps, as I said before, they've got access to all sorts of personal data, and that can potentially be exploited. And the emotional manipulation. So if we form these emotional bonds with robots, there's a real chance that they're actually going to be able to ask us questions, and we somehow, for some reason, have this emotional bond. So we kind of trust it a little bit more than, a form on a website who wants to know our eye colour. And so there's a real ethical risk around that as well. So, and then, so Chris Nosal then gave a talk about artificial intelligence, and he gave a great description of the various levels of IA. So we have this concept of narrow IA, which is sort of what we have today. So things can, in their depth of field, they can actually learn and develop. And then there's general AI, which is basically what is known as like the same intelligence level as humans. And then we've got super intelligence. So the theory of singularity kind of fits in around there. Who's heard of singularity? Cool, probably about half the audience. That's basically where intelligence surpasses us as humans, and it will become very unpredictable or unfathomable to human intelligence to work out what the hell's going on. But Chris gave us a good understanding of what we're at with a narrow. So we've got this idea of assistive intelligence and agentive tech. So assistive is where you've got some artificial intelligence that helps you with various things. So it assists you, right? So things like your jobs, making connections, it helps your body do things, it gives you extra skills, or it helps you with art. But agentive technology, on the other hand, is potentially what we don't want to do, or we're not good at, or what we have to do but can't do alone, right? So these are things that, instead of being users of this technology, we're actually becoming managers of it. So we're saying to something, hey, go away and do that thing and don't necessarily bother me. I don't want to be involved in that anymore. Just do it for me. So 3 really great examples he gave of this was the Roomba, which just basically does your vacuuming for you. You don't have to get involved with it. When it starts to run out of battery, it knows where the charging station is and it goes and charges itself up. And you can just basically program it to go and do the vacuuming once a week or twice a week or whatever. Another example is the Narrative, which is a little camera that you put on yourself, and it takes a photo every 30 seconds. And then it basically has the technology to understand the scenes in your day-to-day life. And at the end of the day, it gives you a playback of some of the scenes in your life and the best stills from that. And you can interact with it as well. You can help curate it, but it does all the curating for you if you want it to. You can just let it go. And the other one is obviously the Google car. You just tell it to get you from A to B, and it does. I'd like to also give some really cool examples of the Internet of Things as well. So these guys, Peter and Haroon, thank you. Exactly what they were talking about. So basically, Alexandra Deschamps-Cicino, who developed the Good Night lamp, where you switch a lamp on in one place, and the other lamp could be anywhere else in the room, in the world, as long as it's connected to the internet, and that lamp also goes on as well. It was originally designed to give loved ones a sense of presence when they couldn't be with each other, but people are actually starting to use it now for all sorts of different signaling as well. And I wish that when I was working for the guys that I was working for previously in London, that I had one of these and I could tell them when I was botherable or not. A few other examples are Propeller. So there's basically a sensor that you can put on your puffer to gain insights into what's actually triggering asthma attacks and reduce the hassle of managing your condition and stay connected to your family and care team. So there's a whole app behind it and all that sort of stuff. A personal safety device with a built-in microphone and tracking device. If you feel like you're in danger, you just tap this thing 3 times and it activates a microphone. An operator can hear everything that's going on. You can obviously tell it that, oh, sorry, false alarm if you need to, but basically the operator can hear everything and they can dispatch help if you need it. In the UK, they've got this flood network. So basically, if you live within, I think it's 40 metres of a creek or river, and you're actually concerned about flood levels and rising waters and stuff, and maybe it's because you spend a lot of time away from your property or something like that, you can actually purchase one of these devices and install it nearby your house, and then register on the network. And because it's a network, people that monitor these sorts of things have access to all the data, and they can give much better warnings of rising flood levels. Another really cool one, and this is probably my favourite one, is one that saves water. You attach it between your shower head and the water pipe, and basically, you know how when you get in the shower and turn the water on, it usually takes a good minute or 2 for the water to heat up enough to get in it. This actually doesn't let any water out until it's actually heated up to that temperature. So you switch it on, it heats up, and then you jump in the shower and you push a button and the water comes out. But not only that, if you're standing really close to it, it comes out at 100% pressure. If you stand back a little bit, it goes to 80% pressure, maybe lathering or something. If you stand even further away, it goes to like 10% pressure. And it gives you an app and you can track all your water usage and all that sort of stuff. It's really cool. Another example is this specially designed tractor. And people in mainly Africa, I think, is where they use maybe SMS, can actually order a tractor for their farm for a bespoke period of time, and people that own these tractors can actually service that, and they can track it all and everything. That's another cool idea. And the air quality egg, which basically is a sensor system and a community designed to allow anyone to publish the nitrogen dioxide and carbon monoxide concentrations around their home. And that's publishable on the internet, so you can get information on that. Basically what she, like the whole premise of her talk was trying to expose all these really cool internet devices and Internet of Things. But basically she said that these technologies, technologists are actually getting access to all these really cool toys, and it doesn't seem to her, and she's running the meetup group in London, that there's many designers actually involved in it yet. So she's just saying, look, tech has potentially taken a big piece of the design pie here because there's not as many designers in here. And we as designers have an amazing amount of experience making sure that technology actually meets a need. So let's get involved with that. Interaction designers and industrial designers need to work more closely together, which is to your point as well. Another cool example is the Grove ecosystem, which is basically an ecosystem that harnesses the natural relationship between fish, microbes and plants to bring fresh food and life and food into your home. And again, it gives you an app. You know, if the pH is low on your fish tank, it tells you, whoa, okay. So Greg Petroff ran a pretty cool panel as well about the next 5 years in European design. It didn't actually go too deep into anything that was really that European, but some really cool points were made in it. I've broken them down into design transformation and societal transformation. Basically, the design industry itself is going through transformation, obviously. The maturity model is increasing, so we're actually seeing that businesses are understanding the value of design. The designers are actually affecting business models. We're actually leaning more towards an internal design culture, but no one agreed that agencies were going to go out of business, so don't worry about that. We're also seeing a focus on sustainability. At the moment, the buzzword is disruption, but they think within the next 5 years it'll shift more to sustainability. And again, we need to spend more time with other industries as designers. We've got these skills, let's use them. And societal transformation, so people becoming more comfortable giving their data to certain apps, certain networks and things, but there's this whole privacy and transparency and trust issue that we need to get over. So companies should be more transparent about the data that they hold and gain trust by using it ethically. And it's not until we give value back for the data that we hold that people are going to trust us for holding their data. I would be doing an injustice if I didn't mention Cameron Sinclair's closing keynote, which was absolutely amazing. Basically, Cameron gives, he helps build shelter and communities for people who have been displaced from their homes due to environmental disasters or conflict. It received a standing ovation. I recommend you go and watch the talk because it's absolutely amazing. He says that we should forget virtual reality. Let's work on actual reality. He says, design like you give a damn. And I think what he means by this is we as designers have core skills around solving complex problems. Let's not waste it. Humanity is at the center of everything that we do. Let's not lose sight of our responsibilities. We have the power to change this planet. Let's make sure it's for the better. And on that note, I'd like to flip to a video if we have time. 3 minutes, about the project that took top honours, basically received Best in Show at this year's Interaction Awards, which have their ceremony at the closing party.
There are an estimated 285 million vision impaired people worldwide. Sadly, the consequences of sight loss are all too often isolation, poverty and depression. Of the estimated 2 million vision impaired people in the UK, almost half say they would like to leave their home more often. What if vision impaired people were empowered to leave their homes to meet friends and get to work independently using the smartphone they already have in their pocket? The Royal London Society for Blind People and us too have come together to make the experience of travelling independently accessible to people living with sight loss.
Us Too are a digital product studio. We've been working closely with the RLSB's Youth Forum, investigating how we might empower vision impaired people to travel independently around their city.
Our Youth Forum, founded in 2013, is made up of vision impaired young people aged 16 to 25. Following the release of their Youth Manifesto, the Youth Forum teamed up with us too to explore potential solutions to the transport challenges they were facing.
As part of the design process, what we really needed to do was to experience the feeling of travelling across the city as a vision impaired person. We used a combination of simulation and observation. The observations allowed us to see the issues at first hand, but through the simulation we got a glimpse into what it might feel like.
For the Youth Forum, being involved in the design of the solution to the challenges they were facing has been extremely important. Being able to use the perhaps negative experiences they've had to create something positive to change the lives of vision impaired people.
It was interesting to be able to walk without help, so it made me feel more confident, made me feel independent, and yeah, it's a good experience.
Here's how it works. The beacon broadcasts an ID, which is received by a smartphone. The smartphone decodes the beacon ID, and navigation instructions are spoken to the user, a bit like this.
You are halfway down to the ticket hall. Turn left and walk down the stairs. There are 9 steps. Bear right and walk forwards to the ticket barrier. You are approaching the barrier. The down escalator is straight ahead. You are approaching the end of escalator. Walk forwards to the end of the hall. Turn left for trains to Walthamstow Central, right for trains to Brixton.
Together we have created a not-for-profit organisation called Wayfinder. Wayfinder is the open standardised guideline for audio wayfinding. Wayfinder dissolves into digital navigation services to create experiences that are consistent, seamless and reliable, in turn empowering vision impaired people to move independently through their environment, completing day-to-day tasks or exploring new places around the world.
Built into Wayfinder is a determination to create social, economic and personal value for users. Our open model ensures that through adoption, this impact will propagate across the globe. Sign up now at wayfinder.net.
So you can see how using our skills we can create a massive amount of impact for people and humanity in general. I did have one more slide, which basically just had the links to the Interaction Design Award videos, which that was one of, and the videos from the conference. So all the conference talks are on the Interaction Design Association website anyway, and Vimeo. And as they say in Helsinki, kiitos, which means thank you.